Welcome. You're listening to the Leading Hope podcast. My name is VJ Williams, here with my friend, Pastor Kevin Jack. Thank you for joining us, taking time out of your day to become a better leader. If you're new, we release a new episode every Wednesday. We'd love for you to subscribe or download that on your favorite podcast platform. For you, we all know it is
Pocket Cast.
Pocket Cast, there you go. And also share this with a friend on Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram. Rate and review on Apple Podcasts.
What do you listen to stuff on?
Apple.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, rate and review on there. Thanks for asking.
Yeah.
Because a few extra minutes will absolutely help get this in the hands of many more leaders, just like you, who are trying to get better like me. And thank you for being here. Visit leadinghope.online. Get updates, find out more about the Leading Hope community. Brand new series today. Episode 175. The series is entitled Leading Well No Matter Where You Are. And the title is, Where Am I?
I felt like it was fitting.
It's great.
No one has ever accused me of being like the best at titling stuff.
Yes. No one has ever accused you.
Thank you for the affirmation.
But I think this one's great.
Well, I appreciate
This is good. What do you got for us?
So here's the big idea that we're going to walk through in this series is that if leaders do not become conscious of the culture and context that they interact with and are embedded in, that those cultures will manage them. If they're not aware of the context that they're in, then the context that they're in will dictate their actions, behaviors, responses in such a way that it can even be counterproductive to this thing that they're seeking to do. You have to be aware of the context that you're in. And so what we're going to jump into today is this idea that every culture that exists was formed over time to create a specific context that exists today. And knowing how and why that context came to be enables us to better interact with, lead within, and when necessary, shift that culture. If I can make it really simple, so often, especially when people are newer to a context, whether that's an organization, a church, a business, something that they're just unfamiliar with, they'll come in and there's always this like over and over again, well, why do we do it that way? Like, why do we do it this, like, why do people do it this way? Actually, I'm sorry, that was too much credit because they don't say why do we?
Yeah.
Why do they?
Yes.
Why do you guys do it that way?
Yeah.
And the reality is, like, we almost ask it like baffled. There's a reason. Whether the reason is good or not.
Always a reason.
Yeah, there's always some background. And typically it's just because it never got updated over time.
Yeah. Yes.
We have both experienced a lot of this.
I was just going to say.
Why.
Yeah. The two reasons I always hear is that's the way we've always done it, or it's easy.
Yeah.
There we go.
It's easier this way.
Yes.
Regardless of how much more difficult it being easy on us makes it for everyone else.
Yes.
It's easier this way.
Yep.
And so today I just want to get into this idea because like understanding the context of leadership is so important. And so I just want to give some helpful ideas on understanding where you are. And maybe I'll just say my concern in this episode is that the people who are good at discerning context are going to be the ones who lean in.
Yeah.
And the people who are bad at discerning context are going to go, oh, I know where I am. I know what I'm dealing with. And so if I could just like, man, especially for those of you who are bad, just to say like, hold up just a second. You may not know as clearly as you think you know what your context and what your culture is. So I want to give you some helpful ideas on this. First idea, and that is that context is never simply bad. The culture that you exist in is never simply bad. You may like it, you may dislike it, you may feel comfortable in it, you may feel threatened by it, but none of those things make it get bad or good. The effectiveness of any culture cannot be evaluated separately from the environment in which it exists. Let me make this real simple. An entrepreneur culture is fantastic for entrepreneurs, but horrific for airlines because of risk. And so if you would say like, hey, we need to be willing to take risks. Great for entrepreneurs. Pilots, bad. I do not want my pilots getting really comfortable with significant levels of risk.
Why not?
Because we would die, right?
Yeah, maybe, yeah.
So what is good in one culture is actually really detrimental in another.
Yeah.
Counselors and consultants. What is great of consultants of, hey, this is what you need to do. Hey, here's the issue. Here's some healthy next steps out of it. Great for consultants, bad for counselors. Counselors should not tell everyone all the things that are wrong and exactly how they get out of it, because counselors are a part of self-discovery. Now, if you thought you were paying a consultant to come in and the person just act like a counselor, you would be ticked off.
Oh, yeah.
Well, why do you feel that way? How do you think you guys got to this spot? Like, no, we're paying you to tell us in this moment. And so
Good.
like both of them are really healthy and helpful. I also put as the last example on here, golf versus soccer. I don't know if this is right. So just tell me, because it doesn't, because I don't play golf.
Yeah.
Like I kind of view it as like the best golfers just like zone everything else out. They just kind of get locked in to what they're doing. Where soccer, you can't do that. Soccer, you have to be like 10 other people on the field on your team. You have to be acutely aware of what everyone else is doing. If you zone out, you're not going to do what your team needs.
Yeah,
Is that fair?
I think that's a fair, especially with golf. Like, they take risks. They're very calculated in when and where they take that.
'Kay.
But they're not. That's not a normal thing. They're playing how they normally play the hole, right?
Good.
They're not taking risks unless they're down by 4 strokes and 2 holes left.
I don't golf.
Yeah.
So
They're not huge risk takers unless they have to be.
what I want you to see is just this idea that context is never simply bad. And you may walk into a culture that you're unfamiliar with, that you're not comfortable in, and you may want to label it as bad. And the best way to understand is that, like, is it healthy or unhealthy for the goals that you're seeking to pursue, for the impact that you're seeking to create. And so because of this, there is no universally, like, we can never say like, hey, this is the best leadership style, because the best leadership style always changes based upon the context. A very democratic leader will work fantastic for a team that has clearly laid out goals and plans, has ample time to accomplish them, and can very much dictate their environment. A democratic leader is horrific in a crisis. Or we say it like this. There's a reason why military has chain of command the way in which they do. It is a very command style of leadership. And so we just grasp it from the standpoint of say, hey, as we're looking through context, get rid of good, bad. Okay? Get rid of that dichotomy. Begin to grasp healthy, weak, and unhealthy, and strong, weak. That there are things that are healthy for our context and unhealthy, and there are parts of that context and culture that are really strong and other parts that are weak. And I love this. Edgar Sheen says it like this, that organizations are mysteries to be embraced. And I think that's just a beautiful thing. We got to rid ourselves of the idea that I'm just going to walk in and I know everything that there is to know. So that's the first idea. Context is never simply bad. Second idea, context has layers. Ogre joke.
Oh, yeah?
It's like an onion.
Yeah, there you go.
Shrek joke. There we go.
Yeah,
Thank you.
You love that.
Love it so much.
Love it. Yeah, I know. We'll take a pause here.
Context.
Pause for laughter.
Let's edit that out.
You can't?
Nope.
Nope. Nope.
Context has layers. So there's some there's some like surface stuff, and I know this isn't brilliant. I just want you to be able to understand this maybe at a heightened level. There's surface stuff of like, hey, this is the organizational chart. Hey, these are the processes and systems we use. Hey, this is the behavior that everyone has. Yeah. There's some then like written stuff. There's, if you have mission, vision, values, that's a little deeper. It's not just what my eye is catching in the moment. These are the deeper things taking place. And then there's like even below that, not just the written values, there's the felt values. Yeah. Not just the written vision, the felt vision. And the easier an organization, like the more those are synced up and aligned, the easier an organization is to lead. Yeah. But we grasp just from the standpoint of to say like, hey, it's not all what is right there on the surface. As I was studying this, I came across this great story. I thought you'd like this.
I can't wait.
Okay. So there's these 2 fish. Okay.
Yep.
They're hanging out.
Dory and Nemo.
Nope. Just Sorry. 2 fish.
Okay.
And the one fish looks at the other fish and says, hey, you ever concerned that the world's going to run out of clean water? And the other fish looks back at him and says, what's water? Isn't that great?
That's great. That's fantastic.
It made me laugh far more than it actually should have, just from the standpoint.
Yeah. Where am I?
It's just the idea, like, of course a fish doesn't like grasp water. It's all it knows.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
it makes perfect sense on there.
Yeah.
And just the idea that the longer that you are in an organization, less you become aware of the layers.
Yeah.
And so
that's good.
Sometimes the best people to understand the layers of an organization are actually those who are approaching it from the outside.
Yep.
Because they begin to see things more clearly. And so I just got 2 notes in here, and then V, I'll throw it to you. When seeking cultural change, you must impact culture at the deepest level for it to take hold. Not just behaviors, not just what you can observe, not just what's written, but what is actually felt and held at the deepest level is the only way culture change is going to take place. And so that is why an outsider can often gain a greater sense of what is happening at the deepest level, because they will not always know why things happen to begin with.
It's good.
Good?
Yeah, good.
Keep going.
Yeah, I mean, I had a question I wanted to ask real quick, and then maybe you can follow up with some more information. You said get rid of the good, bad.
Yeah.
And I agree. I think that's really important because there's so many nuances within the context of what you're trying to do or accomplish. You said say healthy or not healthy or unhealthy.
Yeah.
I think that is works, especially in today's world that we live in, because people can just self-diagnose and say, hey, this isn't going to be healthy if I continue doing this.
Yeah.
The other thing you said, strong versus good.
Strong versus weak.
Or strong, I'm sorry. Strong versus weak. That's where I think people maybe need some context.
Oh, that's good.
Because I think when we think of weak, that's always associated with bad. That's not necessarily
correct.
That's not right. But there is weak things that aren't. So explain that.
Yeah. So the idea of, say, like, healthy and unhealthy is the paradigm of, hey, healthy is this will get me to my goal. Unhealthy is this will not get me to my goal.
Yeah.
Strong versus weak is this is strongly held or this is weakly held.
Gotcha.
So if we could put it on like a continuum of, say, like, your healthy things that are strongly held are your greatest asset.
Got it.
Your healthy things that are weakly held need to be improved.
There we go.
Your unhealthy things that are strongly held are your greatest obstacle.
That's great.
Your unhealthy things that are weakly held should be quick to turn around.
That's good. That's great clarification.
Thank you for asking that.
Yep. Good.
All right, last piece on today. Just real simple. And again, we're just kind of priming it on context as we jump into this new series. And that is, you do not understand a context if you cannot appreciate a context. I think this is so important. Like, you don't understand the culture that you're in if you do not find ways to appreciate the culture that you're actually in. This is what I would like to just be real blunt on within this is when I see leaders take over new organizations and they see everything as unhealthy. I want to say you don't actually understand the community that you're interacting with.
That's good.
You don't actually understand the culture that you're in because it was created the way it was for a reason. Even the most unhealthy things. So if I could say churches is my area.
Yeah.
Like even the most ingrown, seemingly unhealthy, Great Commission forsaking churches became that way for a reason. And many of them came that way out of protection. Came out that way out of protecting its members.
Yeah.
And so if you only look at it as to say like the way to view it as an unhealthy attribute is to say we're ingrown. We only care about ourselves. The healthy way of looking at that is we're intensely loyal. Like that is a strong thing that we hold. And I would just say it as like, if you're going to shift any culture or context, you do not have the best for your people in mind if you have not first found how it is that you should properly be appreciating that context and who the people are and what they're going through. And if we emphasize what is wrong or what is missing, we tend to see everything through that filter or frame. And so what you need to be able to do first is you need to be able to identify what is strong and could be characterized as healthy and see how you can actually build upon that.
That's really good. We're all guilty of misappropriating content or context anyway.
Yeah.
Because we insert our own experiences as the context for every position that we find ourselves in.
It's good.
And man, we get in so much, especially leaders sometimes, because we'll use our past.
Your perspective is not the context.
Right, yeah.
Your perspective is your perspective on the context.
Right. And so I think it really takes a maturity to get to that level of saying, hey, man, this is what I experienced. It did happen. Like, it's not that it's not true, but it doesn't mean the entirety of whatever that is from that experience. And then we can't, as leaders, take our past experience and apply that to a new context all the time. It can be a point along the trail, but it's not the entirety thing. My question for you right now.
Real bluntly, your new boss does not have all the same faults as your old boss.
Right.
You have the same perspective.
Yeah, that's
your
good.
new girlfriend doesn't have all the same faults of all your previous girlfriends.
Yeah.
You're the common denominator.
Yeah,
all right,
that's really that's really good. And I guess for the question for maybe people that are not really quite sure how this is happening in their worlds, or where do you? I guess the question is, where do you or where do we as leaders miss most? Where are missing most about context? Where do you see that playing out the most? Is it in organizational charts? Is it where do you see that mostly being missed? Where context, actually not having context, fails the organization the most?
Yeah. I'd just say it is like, and ask me something else if I don't hit this where you think I need to. I just see a lot of people who assume they know.
Yeah.
And they just walk in, new position, new role, and they think they know what it is. And I'll be like, you don't. Like, you don't grasp what it is until you have connected with the people who are the key stakeholders on this. And even when you have, there's still stuff that you're not learning. So if I could share like example that we had, we were going through, and we've talked about this some before, at previous church, at Be Hope, we were going through the name change process.
Yep.
And we knew the church had this innovative bent all throughout its history, but it had gotten stuck at different points in time. And I can remember sitting in a meeting where somebody goes, we brought up the idea of changing the name, and someone goes, well, we've done it before. I went, what?
Yeah, right.
Like, that was my actual reaction. They go, oh, yeah, we used to be Knollwood Church of the Nazarene, and then we felt like God was calling us to a bigger mission, and so we needed to change our name to fit with that bigger mission, and so we moved and became Beaver Creek Church of the Nazarene. We've done it before.
Yeah.
I've been there for like 3.5 years at the time.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I thought I knew.
An incredible story, by the way, of how they got the land and all that. But to your point.
Yeah. And so I think the piece on there is that I see people give verbiage to the idea of listening without ever actually listening.
Yeah.
They think they know what's going on, and so they assume they're capable to lead. And so say, like, if you lead, let me make it as a real stupid diagram.
Yeah,
okay?
no, it's
but
great.
this is why this is so important. If you think your people are at point A and you want to lead them to point B, but your people are actually at point A1. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
They're just a little off of point A.
Right.
You're not actually going to be able to take all the people to point B.
Yeah.
If you assume people are starting in a spot that they're not actually in, you're not going to be effectively able to lead everyone to the spot that they need to be.
Yeah, that's great. That's good. I know that you have some things that you want to end this episode with.
We're
it's
starting
a little different than normal. So explain to us what you're gonna tell us.
We got some feedback from some people who just said, "Hey, I would love like an assignment at the end." And we will not grade your assignment, okay? But it's say like it would be helpful to have not just this is an idea, but this is what I do with it.
Leader work.
And so we're not just gonna throw something out there to have something out there. But if there is something helpful, we do want to put it here at the end. Like, hey, here's how you actually interact with this. This is how you implement it. So here's your assignment for understanding your context. Ready?
This is the first time you've actually, in 175 episodes, you've given points, concepts, lead. This is an assignment.
There we go.
Here we go.
Assignment time. We should have
Taking
our
new
own
levels.
theme music for assignment time.
I do dun 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 dun.
Oh, I thought there was more. Okay,
No,
there we go.
it.
That's it.
Yeah.
Get with someone else in your organization and have both of you, people in different spots, different positions, maybe different backgrounds, maybe different length of time. And I want you to write down in an ordered numbered list, like based upon intensity, starting with 1 being the most significant, how you would describe the organization that you're in. Have both of you do it. Take 10 minutes and then come together and compare and discuss the discrepancies between your list. And just to simply go, well, I thought we were strongest on this. I didn't even have that on my list.
Yeah.
I thought this was here, while you actually viewed it as way weaker and way less significant. And I think you will actually learn a ton about the organization that you exist in just by comparing notes with another person on what you think is most important for the people that you lead.
I love it. Assignments are great. And will those be on the podcast notes?
Yeah, they will.
Oh, I can't wait to read those. It's going to be exciting. Thank you for joining us today, episode 175, Where Am I? A new series, leading well no matter where you are. If you're new to the podcast, haven't subscribed, do that now. It'd mean the world to us if you did that. Also, if you post about it, rate and review on Apple Podcasts. Apple Podcasts. That's where that happens. We want you to do that. You won't believe how that helps get this podcast in the hands of so many more leaders just like you. We love hearing your stories, how the podcast is working in your life. Now we want to hear about the assignment. How did it work for you? We want to know about that. Visit leadinghope.online. Send that to us. We'd love to hear from you. Remember, everyone has 20 minutes to learn to become a better leader. Make it